Hi everyone. Anger is a powerful emotion. It can either destroy everything you've built or push you forward towards success. The choice is yours. Successful people are not the ones who never feel angry. They are the ones who learn how to control it. My name is Muniba Mazari and I am a motivational speaker. If you find this video fruitful, then you can appreciate me by like and subscribe and start a new journey with me. Make sure to watch the entire video to gain motivation and understand how adopting these habits can benefit you. If you find value in this message, share it with those you care about or anyone who might need a little inspiration today. Anger is a powerful emotion, and it is a part of being human. We all feel it, whether it's because of a challenging day, a difficult person, or an unexpected setback. But what makes a difference is how we handle this anger. Do we let it take over us, control our reactions, and damage our relationships? Or do we learn to manage it, understand it, and use it constructively? Successful people understand that controlling anger is not about suppressing it, but about using it wisely. They know that anger can either destroy or motivate, and they choose to channel it in a way that benefits them. Think about it. How often have you seen someone lose their temper and later regret their words or actions? A few seconds of uncontrolled anger can ruin years of relationships. It can destroy opportunities and push people away. Successful people realize that losing control because of anger is a weakness, not a strength. They refuse to let their emotions dictate their actions. They don't allow temporary feelings to create permanent damage. Instead, they take control of their anger and transform it into a force that pushes them forward. When someone makes you angry or situations test your patience, it's easy to react instantly. It feels natural to snap back or say something harsh. But what does that really achieve? It might give you a momentary sense of relief, but often it leaves behind regret. Successful people don't give in to this impulse. They take a step back, breathe, and think before they react. They understand that reacting out of anger is giving control to someone else. When you let anger take over, you are no longer in control of yourself. Your emotions are. Anger can be a great teacher if you learn to listen to it. Instead of suppressing it or letting it explode, learn to understand why you feel that way. What is it trying to tell you? Are you frustrated because of unrealistic expectations? Are you angry because you feel disrespected or unheard? Once you identify the root cause, it becomes easier to address it constructively. Successful people use anger as a signal to evaluate what is wrong and find a solution. They don't just focus on the emotion itself. They focus on the reason behind it. One of the most important lessons that successful people learn is that controlling anger doesn't mean ignoring it. It means processing it in a healthy way. Some take a walk, write their thoughts down, meditate, or talk to someone they trust. They find healthy outlets to release their frustration. By doing so, they not only calm themselves down, but also gain clarity on how to address the problem effectively. They use anger to fuel their growth, not to burn their progress. Successful people also know the power of choosing their battles wisely. Not every situation deserves a reaction. Not every comment needs a response. They don't let minor annoyances drain their energy. They save their strength for what truly matters. They focus on their goals, their dreams, and their purpose. They refuse to let distractions derail their path. When you know your purpose, when you have a vision for your life, you realize that giving in to anger is a waste of time. You learn to prioritize peace over proving a point. Another key aspect is forgiveness. Holding on to anger for too long can weigh you down. It keeps you stuck in the past, reliving the pain over and over again. Successful people understand that forgiveness is not about excusing someone else's behavior. It is about freeing themselves from the burden of anger. They forgive not because others deserve it, but because they deserve peace. They choose to let go because their dreams are more important than their grudges. Ultimately, anger is just energy. A raw, intense form of energy. Successful people have learned the art of converting that energy into determination. When they are told they can't achieve something, they use that frustration to push harder. When they face setbacks, they use their anger as motivation to bounce back stronger. They don't let anger break them, they let it build them. If you want to be successful, learn to control your anger before it controls you. Learn to manage it before it damages you. Your ability to control your emotions is a sign of maturity, strength, and wisdom. It is what separates those who react from those who respond. So the next time anger rises within you, pause, breathe, reflect, and decide if it is worth your energy. Choose your peace over your pride, your growth over your grudges. That's the mindset of a successful person. Someone who uses their emotions instead of being used by them. Anger is like a storm that builds up inside us. It can be triggered by something as small as a rude comment or as big as a betrayal. When we feel it rising, it feels like we are losing control, like the storm will take over and destroy everything in its path. But the truth is, we have the power to control it, to calm it down before it breaks out. Successful people understand this power. They know that the ability to control anger is a strength, not a weakness. They see it as a skill that can be learned and mastered, and it becomes a part of their success. Imagine a moment when someone says something harsh to you. Maybe they criticize your work, disrespect you, or underestimate your abilities. Your first reaction might be to snap back, to defend yourself, or to say something equally hurtful. But what would that achieve? You might feel a brief sense of satisfaction, but it often leads to regret. It can damage relationships, spoil your peace of mind, and take you further from your goals. Successful people know this, so they pause. They take a breath and think before they respond. Learning to pause before reacting is a habit that can change lives. It may sound simple, but in moments of anger, it is incredibly powerful. When you pause, you give yourself a chance to think. You give yourself time to decide whether reacting is even worth it. You regain control over your emotions rather than letting them control you. This small pause can prevent big mistakes. It can stop you from saying things you don't mean, from making decisions you'll regret, and from creating conflicts that never needed to happen. One of the best ways to control your anger is to understand it. Why are you feeling angry? What is it that truly bothers you? Is it the disrespect from someone else? Or is it an insecurity within yourself that feels threatened? Often, when we take a moment to reflect, we realize that our anger is not just about the present moment. It could be connected to past pain, to unresolved issues, or to a fear of not being valued. Successful people take the time to understand their emotions. They know that anger is a signal, a sign that something needs attention. They use it to learn more about themselves rather than letting it damage their peace. Another approach to controlling anger is to change your perspective. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic. Your first reaction is frustration or even rage. You may think, how dare they disrespect me like that? But what if you pause and think? Maybe they're in a rush because of an emergency. Maybe they didn't see me. This shift in perspective can turn your anger into understanding or even compassion. Successful people practice this shift. They don't immediately assume the worst. They give others the benefit of the doubt. They protect their peace by choosing a perspective that serves them, not one that destroys them. Successful people also learn to separate their emotions from their actions. They understand that feeling angry is okay, it is natural, But acting out of anger without thinking is what causes problems. They might feel hurt or upset, but they choose their responses carefully. They might write their feelings down, take a walk, or meditate to cool off before addressing the issue. They realize that responding in a calm, thoughtful way is more effective than reacting in a burst of anger. Another technique that successful people use to control their anger is setting healthy boundaries. If certain people or situations consistently make you angry, it is essential to set limits. It might mean walking away from a toxic conversation, distancing yourself from negative influences, or clearly communicating what is and isn't acceptable. Boundaries are not about controlling others, but about protecting yourself. Successful people prioritize their mental peace over unnecessary conflicts. They don't waste their energy trying to change people who don't want to change. Instead, they focus on what they can control, their reactions, their peace, and their choices. Forgiveness also plays a big role in controlling anger. Holding on to anger can feel like holding on to a burning coal, hoping to throw it at someone. But in the end, it burns you. Successful people learn to forgive not because others always deserve it, but because they deserve peace. They let go of grudges and resentment because they refuse to let others control their emotions. They know that holding on to anger gives power to others, power that should belong to them. Finally, successful people remember their purpose. They know what they want to achieve in life, and they refuse to let anger distract them from their goals. They understand that being angry over little things takes away their focus, their time, and their energy. They remind themselves of their dreams, their ambitions, and their vision for the future. This bigger picture helps them control their reactions and prioritize what truly matters. In the end, controlling your anger is not about denying your feelings. It is about learning to express them in a way that builds rather than breaks. It is about protecting your peace, your relationships, and your dreams. Successful people master this skill because they know that their mind is their most valuable asset. They refuse to let temporary emotions cause permanent damage. They choose growth over grudges, peace over pride, and purpose over pettiness. That is the power of controlling your anger. When it comes to anger, one of the most common mistakes we make is reacting impulsively. We let our emotions control us, and in the heat of the moment, we say or do things that we regret later. It's like a fire that burns fiercely, but leaves destruction behind. Successful people understand that reacting in anger rarely solves anything. It usually makes things worse. They learn to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting thoughtlessly. They know that controlling their response is a sign of strength, not weakness. Think about a situation when you were angry. Maybe someone insulted you, disrespected you, or challenged you unfairly. Your first instinct might have been to snap back, to defend yourself, to show that you won't be walked over. And maybe you did react. Maybe you said something sharp, something you didn't fully mean, or something that you thought would hurt the other person just as much as they hurt. But did it help? Did it bring you peace? Or did it leave you feeling guilty or frustrated later? Successful people realize that reacting impulsively to anger often leads to regret. They understand that while it might feel good in the moment to get back at someone or to prove a point, it usually causes more harm than good. Relationships are strained, respect is lost, and valuable opportunities can slip away. They have learned that controlling their response to anger is not about suppressing their feelings. It is about choosing their actions wisely. Controlling your response means learning to pause before you act. It means taking a breath, counting to 10, or even walking away for a moment before saying anything. This pause can make all the difference. It allows you to think about the consequences of your words and actions. It gives you time to consider whether what you are about to do will solve the problem or make it worse. In that small moment of pause, you regain control over yourself. You decide, do I want to add more fuel to this fire, or do I want to put it out? Another way to control your response to anger is to ask yourself a simple question. Is this worth my peace? Not every situation deserves a reaction. Not every argument needs to be won. Sometimes silence is more powerful than words. Sometimes walking away is a sign of wisdom, not defeat. Successful people know this because they value their peace more than temporary satisfaction. They know that protecting their peace is more valuable than winning an argument. When you choose to control your response, you also set an example for others. People will notice how you handle difficult situations, how you maintain your calm when others lose theirs. They will respect you for your ability to stay composed and collected. This respect can open doors for you personally and professionally. People trust those who can handle their emotions without losing control. Successful people also learn to express their anger in healthy ways. Controlling your response does not mean you ignore your feelings. It means finding a way to express them without causing harm. If you are upset, talk to someone you trust, write down your thoughts, or use your energy to do something productive. Exercise, create, meditate. These are all ways to channel your anger positively. When you express your anger constructively, it loses its power to control you. It's also important to understand that controlling your response to anger is not a one-time decision. It is a skill that takes time and practice to develop. There will be times when you struggle, when you slip, when you react without thinking. That is okay. The goal is not to be perfect, but to be aware. Every time you pause before reacting, every time you choose your response thoughtfully, you are growing. You are becoming stronger, wiser, and more in control of yourself. Successful people don't just control their responses to anger for their own benefit. They do it because they understand the impact it has on others. When you react in anger, it doesn't just affect you. It affects those around you. It can hurt loved ones, damage professional relationships, and create a negative environment. By choosing to control your response, you create a space of respect, understanding, and positivity. You build trust, and you show that you value others enough not to let anger control your actions. In difficult situations, successful people often try to see the bigger picture. They ask themselves, will this matter a year from now? Will this argument, this frustration still be important in the future? Most of the time, the answer is no. By choosing to see the bigger picture, they can control their immediate reactions and focus on what truly matters. To control your response to anger is to take responsibility for yourself. It is a commitment to not letting outside forces dictate your inner peace. It is a decision to choose growth over conflict, wisdom over impulsiveness, and peace over chaos. It is a skill that can transform your relationships, protect your peace, and lead you to success. In the end, controlling your response to anger is not about being passive or weak. It is about being wise, thoughtful, and intentional with your energy. It is about using your strength to protect your peace, your relationships, and your dreams. Successful people understand this, and that is why they do not allow anger to control them. They control their anger. And in that control lies their true power. One of the biggest misunderstandings about anger is the idea that we should suppress it, pretend it doesn't exist, or push it deep down inside ourselves. But doing so is like trying to hold a burning coal in your hand, hoping no one will notice. It still burns you. Anger is a natural emotion. It's part of being human. The problem arises not because we feel angry, but because we don't know how to express that anger in a healthy and constructive way. Successful people understand that anger, when expressed constructively, can lead to growth, understanding, and positive change. They don't fear anger, they respect it. They see it as a signal that something needs to be addressed, that a boundary has been crossed, or that an issue requires attention. They don't suppress it, but they also don't let it explode uncontrollably. Instead, they learn to express their anger in a way that builds rather than destroys. Think about a time when you felt genuinely angry. Maybe someone disrespected you, took credit for your work, or betrayed your trust. The anger that you felt was not wrong. It was a natural response to feeling hurt or mistreated. But what you chose to do with that anger, how you expressed it, made all the difference. Did you lash out and say things you regretted? Or did you take a moment, process your feelings, and communicate what you felt calmly and clearly? These choices shape not only your relationships, but also your reputation and success. Successful people learn that expressing anger constructively means communicating honestly and assertively without attacking or belittling others. They don't bottle up their anger because they know it will eventually overflow. Instead, they address issues directly and respectfully. If someone crosses their boundaries, they don't shy away from speaking up. They say things like, "I felt disrespected when you did that," instead of, "You were always disrespectful." They focus on their feelings and the impact of the situation rather than blaming or attacking the other person. This approach doesn't just help in personal relationships, it is equally valuable in professional environments. Imagine a leader who constantly yells at their team when mistakes are made. Over time, that team will lose respect for the leader, morale will drop, and productivity will suffer. Now imagine a leader who, when frustrated, takes a step back, calms down, and then addresses the team with honesty and respect. They say, "I am frustrated because I know we can do better, and I believe in our potential. Let's find a solution together." That approach builds trust, respect, and a willingness to improve. Expressing anger constructively also means understanding the difference between responding. Reacting is immediate, emotional, and often regrettable. Responding, however, is thoughtful, measured, and focused on resolving the issue. Successful people choose to respond, not react. They ask themselves, what outcome do I want from this situation before speaking or acting? They prioritize finding solutions over proving a point or winning an argument. Another way successful people express anger constructively is by channeling it into action. When something angers them, instead of allowing it to control them, they use that energy to make a change. If they feel disrespected in the workplace, they don't sit quietly in resentment. They address it professionally. If they are unhappy with a situation, they don't complain endlessly. They work towards a solution. Anger becomes a driving force for growth, not a source of chaos. It's also important to remember that expressing anger constructively requires self-awareness. Successful people take the time to understand their triggers, the things that make them lose their temper quickly. Maybe it's being interrupted, feeling dismissed, or dealing with injustice. By understanding their triggers, they can prepare themselves to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. They become aware of their patterns, and instead of letting anger control them, they control how they handle it. Expressing anger constructively does not mean avoiding conflict altogether. Conflict is a part of life, and avoiding it can lead to even greater frustration. Successful people understand that healthy conflict can lead to deeper understanding and stronger relationships. They don't fear disagreement. They see it as an opportunity to learn, grow, and create solutions. When they address conflict, they do so with empathy and understanding. They seek to understand the other person's perspective, even if they disagree. There is also a misconception that expressing anger constructively makes you appear weak or overly sensitive. But the truth is, it takes far more strength and courage to express anger calmly and thoughtfully than to explode without control. Anyone can scream, shout, or insult. It takes wisdom to communicate effectively when emotions are high. Successful people recognize that their ability to express anger constructively is a mark of maturity and self-control. Lastly, successful people forgive themselves when they make mistakes in expressing anger. We are all human, and there will be times when we lose our temper or say things we regret. Instead of carrying guilt or shame, they acknowledge their mistake, apologize if necessary, and learn from the experience. They see every setback as a chance to improve, not a reason to give up. In the end, expressing anger constructively is not just about controlling an emotion. It's about building healthier relationships, maintaining inner peace, and creating a positive environment for growth. It's about transforming a feeling that can be destructive into a force that can lead to understanding and progress. It is a skill that anyone can learn, but it requires patience, practice, and the willingness to reflect on your own behavior. By learning to express your anger constructively, you become someone who is not controlled by circumstances, but guided by wisdom. You become someone whose words carry weight because they are measured and thoughtful. You become someone whose presence brings stability, even in difficult situations. And that is a strength that can lead you toward success and fulfillment. One of the most critical aspects of managing anger effectively is practicing self-discipline. Without self-discipline, anger can easily become a destructive force that harms relationships, damages reputations, and blocks success. Self-discipline is not about suppressing your feelings or pretending that anger does not exist. It is about having the strength to control your reactions and make choices that serve your growth rather than hinder it. Imagine a moment when something or someone triggered your anger. It could have been an unfair comment, a betrayal, a mistake at work, or a disagreement with a loved one. In that instant, your heart rate likely increased, your mind started racing, and your instinct might have been to react immediately, to say something sharp, or act in a way you might later regret. This is a natural reaction, but it is not always a helpful one. Self-discipline is the ability to pause in that heated moment, take a deep breath, and choose a response rather than reacting impulsively. Successful people understand that practicing self-discipline when angry is not a sign of weakness but a display of strength. It takes far more courage to hold back an angry outburst than to let it fly uncontrolled. In fact, those who lack self-discipline are often controlled by their emotions. They allow their anger to dictate their words and actions, often leading to regret. On the other hand, people with self-discipline have power over their emotions. They do not allow a few moments of frustration to ruin their relationships or their progress. Self-discipline helps you see beyond the immediate moment of anger. It allows you to consider the bigger picture and ask yourself essential questions before reacting. Is my reaction going to help the situation or make it worse? Will my words build understanding or cause more conflict? Am I reacting out of hurt or am I seeking a solution? These questions act like a shield that protects you from making impulsive decisions driven by anger. People who lack self-discipline often find themselves stuck in a cycle of regret. They get angry, react without thinking, and later feel ashamed of their behavior. This pattern can lead to damaged relationships, lost opportunities, and a negative self-image. In contrast, self-disciplined individuals learn from their mistakes. When they do slip up, they reflect on what went wrong, apologize if necessary, and make a conscious effort to handle things better next time. They turn their mistakes into lessons rather than letting them become repeated habits. Self-discipline also requires patience. In moments of anger, patience feels difficult because emotions are intense. However, patience is a skill that grows stronger the more you practice it. Patience does not mean avoiding confrontation or ignoring your feelings. It means giving yourself the time to cool down, think clearly, and express your feelings in a way that leads to resolution rather than escalation. When you practice patience, you give yourself the chance to respond thoughtfully rather than reacting recklessly. A practical way to develop self-discipline when angry is to implement techniques that help you pause. Deep breathing, counting to 10, or taking a brief walk can help you distance yourself from the immediate emotion. Writing down your feelings before speaking can help you process them constructively. Some people find it helpful to talk to a trusted friend or mentor who can offer perspective. These small practices build your self-discipline over time and make it easier to control your anger rather than being controlled by it. Self-discipline also involves knowing your triggers, the specific situations, words, or actions that provoke your anger the most. By understanding your triggers, you can prepare yourself for those moments. If you know that criticism makes you defensive, you can consciously choose to listen with an open mind before responding. If disrespect makes you feel enraged, you can practice addressing it calmly rather than reacting aggressively. Being aware of your triggers does not mean avoiding difficult situations, but preparing yourself to handle them more wisely. Moreover, self-discipline is closely linked to emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and manage your own emotions while